Quick, take a look at ETH, and then we'll jump into the boys club. So ETH, we were talking about same thing, how we get this pump on Sunday, and I drew this before we even, I drew this yesterday. So I was talking to John inside the Discord, and he had done a little bit of TA, and he was having me review what he had done. And so I made this chart and sent it over to him. So I had this FVG drawn out before we actually came back down and filled it. So you see how these things play out, right? So what happens on an FVG, you get this news on Sunday. You get this massive candle back to the upside. Now notice where it rejects, where we would expect it to reject on supply. So if you're seeing ETH hit the bottom of this range at $2,100, this is the bottom of this macro range, which I'll show you guys real quick. Okay. So this is the range that we've been in for since 24, right? Or since, you could call it, yeah, beginning of 24. So we've been in this huge range from 4,100 to the top side, and then we wicked down twice now to $2,100. So if you're looking at this and you're trying to trade it, I'm just giving you guys an example of how you could trade this. You could have said, all right, we hit the bottom of the range. Let me open up a long position. I think we're going to move back up, right? You open up a long down here. You get this move back up to the supply. This is where you would want to close or start taking profits, because we came back up off of this pump, hit the underside of our supply, underside retest, and then we reject right off of that supply. Now, why would we expect us to come back down and do that? Well, because you create this FVG, this fair value gap on this move on Ethereum that eventually, typically, will get refilled. So you get this big move to the upside. There's no price action here on the body of this candle. So it comes back down to refill this fair value and then move back up higher if that's what we're going to do. It doesn't necessarily have to come back up higher, but we fill that FVG. That also is because on the ETH CME futures, if we look at, it's right here, same thing we were talking about on Bitcoin. We open up with this huge gap on Monday. So this is what's going to get filled, right? So we opened up here, closed here. Look what happened. If I do this, boom. Look, we almost completely refilled it already. So it'll probably come back down a little bit lower. If we start moving back up, we're going to want to see this 22, looks like 22.3 level hold before we start moving back up on ETH. Now, I don't necessarily believe that we're going to come back up on ETH and just start ripping. It's possible. We're going to wait for our levels to hit, which I actually had drawn out on this. But any thoughts while I get this pulled up, Bees?
Up only when?
Right. Yeah, when? When's it going to happen?
When up only?
Let's see.
I don't want any more FVGs getting filled, just up only.
Let's see. Did I have this drawing still? No, I
One
don't.
dildo on top of another.
So, yeah, that would be fantastic, right? Let me put this on a lower time frame. So here are important levels on Ethereum for you guys to watch out for. So you get this big supply overhead now that we've built. Let me just do it on 12 hour so you can start to see this a little bit better. Okay. So we got your major demand zone below, which is from our bear market, this $1,700 level. Okay. This is where I believe price is going to come down to and retest. About $1,750. Okay. This is generational entry, generational buys. You pour in down here, your family's retired. The bull case, you already set your low, and this was your low at about $2,100. Now, do I believe that to be the case? No. Possibly, yeah. But we're going to watch for these two levels because this is technically a macro range low from 2024 January. Okay. I'm expecting this 1750 to get hit. Okay, so here's our 2100. If we start moving up, you want to see 2850 get reclaimed, so get back above this supply overhead, and then the next major level is going to be $3,100. Okay, you get back above $3,100, you're now back in this range over here, or above the mid range of the macro. Okay, of the macro range, and then we can start talking about going up above 4,000 again. So those are your major levels. So I'm looking at 3,100. Reclaim here. We're giga bullish. 2,850. We're liking that. 2,100 could be your low, if not 1,750. Okay. So yeah, so I'm just being patient. That's the thing. People just got to be patient. The men who outlast the other men in the market, those are the ones who are going to win. People will capitulate down at $2,100, or they see it come down to $1,750. They're completely exhausted. Their bags are down. They can't handle it anymore. I'm getting out of this market. Sell. Bang. Next thing you know, 1,750 was the low. Rips up to fucking 12,000 by the end of the cycle. That's what's going to happen. But those are the levels I have on ETH.
Yeah. Yeah, that announcement yesterday kind of threw things off a little bit. I'm kind of happy to see that it's refilling the CME gap from the weekend, because I think if we would have just continued artificially pumping up from here and broken through that old supply level and gotten back into like 28, 2,900, 3,000, I would have just kind of been waiting for the floor to fall out, because it's just propped up by nothing. Except for, I mean, crypto in general is just pure speculation, but it's even worse at that point because it's literally just being propped up by a couple of tweets. So I was happy to see and get the notifications this morning, honestly, that Ethereum had come back down,
Right.
because I didn't want to see it just continue artificially ripping this hard with no support, supporting it. So yeah, I think this is healthy price action this morning. And yeah, I mean, it's a Monday open and it's a month open, so I don't know if two fades make a not fade for today, but yeah, we'll see what the rest of this week does. And I think there's a lot of things that are going to be moving in the right direction for the month of March. I know we had talked last stream, I believe, about March 10th being the day that we had our sights set on for a couple of indicators that are moving in accordance with each other, and there was a lot of confluence with March 10th being a bullish day.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see what happens over the next week, but I'm glad to see this got refilled, and I think this is healthy.
Yeah. And so if you guys look at this, something that's interesting as well, that lines up with the prediction of a 1750, because I do see that being the Pico low. If we get that 1750, you see how right here we had the low oversold, very oversold on RSI on the daily. Right before we had this barely oversold on ETH. Then you get this move back up before eventually becoming very oversold again. Okay. So what this is looking like is we just got that barely oversold, right? This one right here. We come back up, we get this, jump right off of this, and we could do something similar where we kind of come back up, and then we really get that oversold territory, and that's what would be this, right? Something like boom, down to 1750. Now you might say, no, that would suck. What would happen to my bags? What should I do? Da, da, da. Yeah, it would suck in the near term, but you want that final flush, that final oversold that we got over here, reaccumulate and see what happens. Then you get this steady uptick to this move, right? Except this time, this move back to the upside is going to be much more aggressive, because if Bitcoin is shooting to new all-time highs, at that point, ETH at the very least is going to get dragged back up to 5K. Okay. So that's what I could see on ETH. That's another reason. I mean, like me and Logan were talking about, we have other indicators, other things that we're paying attention to that would signify one more drop lower. Set the low around March 9th, March 10th. Get down to 1750. Everybody's losing their minds. We're getting the generational entry, buying. And then we ride that bitch back up to a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 Ethereum. So keep in mind, I don't see there being, it's possible we don't get that much more downside. It's possible, but that's what I would expect. Because like I said, you get this bounce, pop back up, boom, nuke. We got this plot right here, pop back up, boom, back down to 1750. So I'm expecting a 1750 ETH.